Well, hello, Mark. My name is Benjamin Niaulin. I'm a SharePoint geek. I work on this platform called SharePoint. It's a Microsoft technology, and I've come to specialize on it. I work for an ISV in the industry called ShareGate, and what we specialize in is migration. So we bring stuff from one SharePoint to another, different versions, and so on.
Great. But my main concern with calling you Benjamin is within a matter of a year or so, you were able to get really good visibility and credibility within the SharePoint community. Give me the 30,000-foot overview. How did you get started with your community efforts?
Okay, well, that's actually a very, very good question.
Gee,
and
thanks.
it did, it did happen actually very quickly, though there was a lot of work. There's no real shortcuts, but there are some good ways to make sure that you increase your chances to get known. And the way it really started is about roughly not that long before I started at ShareGate, and didn't really know what I was going to do back then. But what I made sure to do is to participate in local events, so user groups. So these are community events that are organized locally here in Montreal. And I made sure that I can attend, start to know the local experts, if you want, to make sure that they can put a name to the face next time that I'm either going to write a blog post or that my name's going to come up. You know, it's always good for the other people that have influence to know who they're seeing, because a lot of the time we see the author, we see the bio, there's 500 articles already online. So how do you stand out, right? So we definitely try to participate as much as we can locally. And the way that I first started is to start writing blog posts. But that's where actually I think we met and we started working a little bit together, where instead of doing blog posts here and there and trying to not really know where I was going, with you, what we did is we created an editorial calendar where we set some cold, hard set dates where an article needs to be up on this date, and kind of put me into, how could I say this in English, but put some responsibility on me to know that other people depend on my article to be up on this date, that it's not just me writing the blog post. So I guess a sense of pressure helped me to make sure I write these blog posts and that they're helpful to the right audience that I want to talk to. Because sometimes it's developers, administrators. Me was really a power users or advanced power users, right?
You've got two things that you just said, which are great. One is to participate in local events.
Absolutely.
Two is to join the existing community through writing content and providing content. So I want to back up just a second on there, because you have a good one with participating in local events. Not only did you participate, but once you understood what it was, you created SharePoint Breakfast, right?
That's right. That's right. So eventually, at first we had the SharePoint user group, which was a very, how can I say, technical audience. People that wanted to set up servers, configure SharePoint. And I wanted to start my own event called SharePoint Breakfast, because I felt that our community was so vast if it wanted to be, because SharePoint was also accessible to power users or businesses. And as a product matures, no matter what it is, it starts growing to the business, and business want to know why they should use this application. Right? How are others using it as well, which is a key factor. It's nice to know how it's installed, how it's configured, but eventually there's articles out there, there's content out there, and we can find it out. But how is these other companies using it? And that's why SharePoint Breakfast got, the first time, I think we got 60 to 70 people, right, which was relatively small, but big compared to a user group, which was technical. And then the second time, when people heard about SharePoint Breakfast and we did marketing, and I knew a lot better where I was going with it, I started inviting companies to present. And we've had large companies too. And it helped really attract other people that wanted to know not how to configure it, but how to actually use, or how others are using it. So today I have to shut the doors because there's too many people and my room is too small. So that's a great problem to have.
So the other aspect of getting credibility is speaking at events. How did you get your first speaking engagement.
That's good. And I actually had a talk with fellow speakers recently at SharePoint Saturday, where we become a tight knit community eventually. But I was at a SharePoint Saturday Virginia Beach, which was, I think, originally the first SharePoint Saturday in our community, which is great today. And somebody asked me the same thing. How did you get to hear that you're invited to this SharePoint Saturdays and speaking at conferences? And the first time, because nobody knew me and nobody knows me, and it actually goes back a little bit further before I started to realize I could be a speaker, is I went to the largest conference in our industry called the SharePoint Conference. It's organized by Microsoft, and there's up to 10,000 people, which is huge for one product. And what happened is I got there a day early, and I was on Twitter following tags. I did not know there was a community back then. So the big names in the industry, I had no idea. All I knew, I was a consultant, and I would look up stuff on the internet. I would find it, and that's all there was to it. I went to this conference, and I saw on Twitter that there was something called not SharePoint, but SharePint. Apparently, we like to go for a drink. And back then, I was a lot thinner than this. But so the way that I saw it, I'm like, oh, well, I have nothing to do. I'm in the hotel room. Conferences start tomorrow. I'm not going to stay at the hotel room. I'm just going to go to this SharePoint thing. And I'm there and I'm starting to talk to people, having great time, talking all evening. And the next day I go to the conference. What happens? The first moment I step into my first session, the person I was having a beer with is the speaker in front of 500 people. And I was talking to a speaker, and then I go to another session, another speaker, and then I start going to the blogs online, and wait, all these people that were having a drink, talking, and I was getting more comfortable with are actual speakers. So what happened was, when I got back, I decided, you know what? In the sessions, yes, I learned a little bit here and there, but I think I'm ready to start speaking and share my experience and my knowledge. So this is what I did, is I looked for events that were still close, but not local anymore. So there are these things called SharePoint Saturdays in our community, and they're a free conference, if you want, for a whole day on a Saturday. And this is a great place for us to start engaging in the community, because it doesn't necessarily have to be the huge speakers that automatically get selected. You have more chances. So first, I applied to the first SharePoint Saturday that I have ever seen, and it was called SharePoint Saturday Toronto. Just 6-hour drive from where I am. There's also train and
that
airplane.
was a fun event. I remember
that was a fun event. Yes, that's where. And what happened is I didn't get selected because I didn't submit on time. I just realized too late that there was this event. But I think that's where the difference is. I didn't just stop and turn back. I kept bugging. At the time, I didn't really know that person. Today, it's Reuven Gotts, which obviously is a very, very well-known person in SharePoint as well. And I kept bugging. I said, look, it's fine that there's no speaker spots. I understand. I would love to volunteer. Do you need volunteers, people to help? And so he loved that I wanted to help. And he gave me a 25-minute speaker spot. It was called a lightning talk. So it wasn't a full session, but he gave me the opportunity to speak. And so I did not tell anybody at work. I took my car. I paid my own hotel with my own credit card because I didn't even afford this hotel. I drove all the way down to the Toronto, 6-hour drive by myself. And I got the hotel. I knew nobody except you. I knew you a little bit before, but I didn't see you the day before. And what happened is I went there. I helped. I stopped. I did my 25 lightning talk. And a crowd started gathering in front of my lightning talk.
That's right.
It was a good talk. People liked it. It was about branding. And obviously other speakers that were on break or not speaking, they started saying, like, who is this guy? And he looks like a decent speaker. And so afterwards, I was able to mingle more with the speakers. And just relationships built from there with the other influencers, with the other speakers, which allowed me, when applying to the next SharePoint Saturday, to list that SharePoint Saturday as a speaking engagement. So, of course, I didn't necessarily say I just had a lightning talk. I just said I spoke at the SharePoint Saturday.
So you lied to get your first full.
I did technically speak, right? I did technically speak. But I told the next ones, and I applied to 5 other SharePoint Saturdays, thinking I might get accepted to 1. But no, I got accepted to the 5. So it just kept growing and growing. People, I think what's very important is the relationships you make with the other community members, the people you help that are going to create a follower base over time. There is no use to, I know in some industries or some people like to go on Twitter and then mass follow people to get a mass following back. But this is, for me, isn't quality followers, if you want. I want people that have seen me, that know the content that I deliver, so that I have more engagement with them. And I value engagement a lot more that I might value these the followers, if we want, right?
If we're going to summarize what you've got there, number 1 is start providing content.
Content is king.
Okay, good. Number 2, participate in the community by going to events.
That's right.
And number 3, step out there and see if you can participate in the event.
That's right. No matter how you can, even if it's a volunteer.